Hello, I am so excited that you are getting ready for your SPSS data analysis appointment. I'm literally sitting at the table where all the magic is going to happen with us. But before we get to that moment, when you come over to my house and we do your data analysis, there's a lot of stuff that you've got to really start to get working on to prepare your data, as well as to help me understand the nuances of what you're doing, and to make the most of the time that we are going to use in doing your data analysis. Data analysis often takes several days. It could take a week. And so for us to try to do it all in one day, especially the first time you've ever done it, it's a lot to ask. So in doing that, I have front loaded a several different tasks for you, as well as asked you to help really shepherd me through the process as we're doing the data analysis. And so there's a really specific list of things that I'm asking you to do to your data before you come over. It's very helpful if you send me the syntax prior to coming over, a couple of days, maybe a week before you send me the syntax, that you send me your data set with the syntax applied, so that I can look at that and make sure that everything is going there. That actually that could be like maybe 48 hours or so before. But then there are things that I need you to bring here to my house, so that I'm not constantly trying to remind myself and figure out what it is that you guys are doing, because this is your study. This is not my study. And you may be using different scales or measurement that I've not used before, because they're things that are germane to measuring the concepts that you're studying in your study. And so I am a slow thinker, and I need pieces of paper, and I really need time to think things through. And so to help me with that handicap, there are a couple of different types of papers that I want you to bring. And I say all this to bring it because I do not have a printer. And so if there is something that you're like, well, I have it on my computer, that's not going to help my brain. And we can't print it here at my house. And so if you show up without printouts, that really starts to kind of move the appointment into a very difficult and tenuous situation, because I can't think as well. So I'm going to share with you, I think probably the best version of this that I've ever gotten from a team. They actually put everything in a binder, and they made me my own binder. How sweet and perfect are they? And of course, they made it with a dog on it. And so this will be our mascot. Sorry, Allie. This will be our mascot for data analysis. They have everything. I mean, it's so sweet, terrific, isn't it? They have everything all tabbed out on here, so that we have everything that we need for the data analysis printed out and then ready to go. So I kind of want to go through a couple of these different pieces that are in here. They did have, of course, a printout of the research questions and hypotheses. And so they just put that on the inside here. But then they have their, and I'm going to scan this and put this on Canvas for you, but they have their data analysis plan. And what I'm asking for you to do in your data analysis plan is I'm asking for you to say, hey, this is the scale that I'm using. I'm using a 4-item credibility scale. And then I want you to tell me how that scale is typically prepared. So is it unidimensional or is it multidimensional? So is it become a summative index, or do we factor it? And I really want you to lay that out, and I want you to tell me all the variables that are in that scale and everything that needs to go. So we have shorthand type of notes about what it is that we should expect with that. So they did their data analysis and SPSS plan, which is something that I asked for you guys to bring when you come. The next is an SPSS Bible. And so an SPSS Bible very easily is literally a printout of your Qualtrics. And then what you're doing is you are going to write next to each question what the variable ends up being called. And so, for example, when I ask the question, I prefer my life be fulfilled with puzzles I must solve. I'm not going to constantly refer to that variable as I prefer my life to be filled with puzzles I must solve. I'm going to refer to that by its scale and then the number of the question that it is just on the scale numerically, sequentially. So that's the need for cognition scale. And that happens to be the 13th item in there. And so they're telling me that this is NFC, need for cognition, NFC 13, but they literally have it written on here, NFC 13. And what this is going to allow me to do is when we are looking at how different variables are being grouped together, this is going to allow me to very quickly remind myself of what that variable was. Like, what was NFC 13? What was NFC? Oh, that's the one about puzzles. Great. So this will give us that sort of secret decoder ring to help us really move that analysis process. And this is just really not a required portion for every scholar, but this is a required portion for me so that I have a piece of paper, I call it the SPSS Bible, so you know it's important, that tells me exactly what each variable is, not only its label in SPSS, but its name in SPSS in there. I've asked the team to print up the syntax. They actually color coded theirs. So when it came to their data analysis plan, they did all this cool stuff with all these little different colors in here. And then for each scale, they continued that color throughout. That is a little extra, but it totally spoke to my soul and it was amazing. So thank you, team, who did this. But they then color coded, they printed up their syntax so I could quickly see that. And they color coded that. They just put a little bar of that color of ink along each of the syntax areas. And their syntax was really, really clean and beautiful, like gorgeous code. You know, not a hodgepodge hot mess. They did have their research questions and hypotheses. I've already shown you those. And they also had just on their own, before they came over, done alphas and reliabilities. They don't need to do that. This is the thing that most folks who come over for SPSS read about in my email requests of how to prepare. And then they're like, it's okay, I have it on my computer. And this is the thing that really creates that downward path if you don't have it. What is this thing? I mean for you to literally print out the article where you found your scale. That's what I mean by inspirational article. So for example, this is here we go, a scale on credibility. So they have a little tab here, credibility, but they printed out the article of where that credibility scale came from. And so I can read through the initial article and I can say, oh, well, they did this type of a factor analysis, right? There are specific words that are used within the method section that mean a lot to me and give me very explicit directions that you don't quite pick up on yet. But if we don't have this printout and I'm having to do it by looking at a screen, it's gonna go 30 times slower because I can't think by looking at a screen. And this is really where you need me to be at my best, most focused attention-wise. So make sure that you, no kidding, whatever journal articles you had gotten a scale from, make sure that you have printouts of those journal articles. And it's okay if you do it 2 pages to 1, right? You see, this is printed out as 2 pages to 1, no problem, save paper all you want. But you do need to have a hard copy here. I also find that it is very helpful. You don't have to tab it and make it as beautiful as this one is, but it is very helpful if you at least write on the cover page what scale is inside that article. And that will also save me, who's not familiar with that article at all, lots of time if I'm just like going through your stack of articles where you're fixing something in the data. Because you'll get started on something and doing a procedure, and then I'll sort of jump forward and think about how do we get ready for the next crossroads that we come to. And so that will keep me from having to constantly interrupt you and saying, well, which one is this scale in, and what is this article? And the better you have things labeled, the better off things will go. And so they did a really fantastic job here in creating their little binder. And like I said, they had all of their fancy little tabs on here, and just brought everything that they were supposed to, which of course made me happy, but brought it in such a way that it was so organized that their appointment went quick as can be. We never know what's going to happen in your data analysis appointment, right? We don't know if the data is going to work the way we want it to work, or if there's going to be a problem that we have to fix. We don't know how smooth or not smooth it is going to go. And so if you can set up your appointment for success in the beginning, where you have everything else in place, then at least we know if we hit a snag that we can get through that snag as quickly as possible. I've had data analysis appointments be as fast as 3 hours. We didn't even make it to lunch. And so that was fantastic. I've had data analysis appointments that have lasted for 10 hours, right? And so the more that you can do to prepare on the front end, the better off things are going to be. So please make sure you're paying attention to the email that I sent and the information that I put out about what to do to prepare for the data analysis appointment. And I can't wait to have you here. So we will see you soon.